Start recording us now. It's our episode 0. We're doing it. Don't yell. Don't yell. Just calm down. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Rebecca.
Welcome to the Burnout Collective.
I think maybe start with who we are, how we met.
Yeah, we always talk about this being our origin story. So we worked together at a company, because we're not going to name names to protect the innocent and not so innocent. I'm just kidding.
I think it was the first week, and I had started noticing that alliances had been formed with people who had worked with each other who already knew each other.
All of a sudden, we're invited to this ad hoc meeting, which ad hoc meetings, I feel like everybody knows what's happening.
Do you have a second to chat?
Yeah. We didn't know each other, by the way. We hadn't
Right.
met each other. So we go in this meeting and it's our bosses and then like a couple other editors. And they're like, all right, change of plans. We know we hired you as deputy editor, but now we're changing your title to derp editor, which is not the title. I can't remember what it was. Now we're changing it. And we're not going to be your bosses anymore. These two editors that were your equals will now be your bosses. When you start a new job, you've got the jitters. You want to
100%.
yeah, you want to make friends, but you're also trying to suss out like the real ones, you know?
There was too much laughter between everyone. I was
Yeah.
like, they all know each other. I don't like this.
No one acknowledged that it's your first week and we're changing everything. I know this is out of the blue. Don't worry. There's nothing like that. And then it was a very quick meeting and they're like, that's that. We'll sync later on the details and the bait and switch. The meeting ends and I'm just like sitting in front of my laptop like, what just happened? And then what happened, Rebecca?
So I did notice in the meeting that you asked questions and you were asking your questions
That's
out
so
loud.
surprising. I never ask questions.
I know, it's crazy, but I was like, oh, her outside voice is my inside voice. And I very much appreciate that all your thoughts were coming out. And so the second that we hung up, I just immediately called you we're friends now. There's too many people who know each other. We're friends now. And I just basically bullied you into friendship because I needed an alliance and you asked good questions. And I got the vibe that you weren't going to put up with shit and you weren't part of that little fun clique. So we were going to make our own club.
Yeah. First of all, you did the unsolicited Slack call, which is don't do that. If you're that person, don't be that person. So I was like, ugh, oh God, why is this person calling me? Oh God. And I was like, hello? And I think you said like,
We're friends now. We're going
no,
to be
I
friends
don't
now.
think you said that. I don't think you started with that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh.
I recall you saying that was bullshit, right?
Yes, sorry. We did acknowledge the absolute bullshit of
Yeah.
that meeting. You asked good questions. I knew. I could see your face too. You have closed captions on your face. So I knew. I know you also thought that was bullshit. And again, I didn't know anybody and I just needed somebody who I could kind of form an alliance with. It's been 7 years now.
Is it been that long? Actually, out of all the things we discussed for this, even the story,
Hmm.
I didn't consider that.
2017, right?
Is this a phishing scam? Yeah, basically. And it's so funny too, because even though at that point in my career, like I did know a little bit more about, I kind of want to say office BS, office politics. But now my reaction to things like this happening is so like immediate. Someone just uses a certain keyword and I'm like, oh, they're laying people off. People are going to get laid off next week.
Yes. And the other thing is, I think years of that pattern recognition. So I'll be that person in the office who's like, that new guy, total asshole. You're crazy. He's so nice. No, asshole. And I have to be right for months by myself until I finally get a text message after I've left the job going, you were so right. He's a total asshole. So I smelled asshole with that whole click thing. And I'm like, all right, I need help.
That's like our main job right now.
Yep.
Every role we have, I think for us personally, our main task is to sniff out the assholes.
Ask too many questions. As everything has progressed and after the pandemic, working for so many startups in a row, doing so much, it got to the point where actually I got one of those emails, the kind that are like, we found your password online and we hacked your webcam and we've noticed you've been doing stuff in front of the computer. And I knew it was so bad. I was like, Go for it. It's just me in my underwear eating Doritos and being sad. That's all you're
But
gonna see.
Rebecca,
So
that's
that's
OnlyFans. So still
or
protect
just like
yourself.
and crying. But that also might be OnlyFans. But yeah, so eating Doritos and crying. And that's when I knew I'm like, I think this is just too much. For the last 4 years, we've been each other's support group in taking turns being in that horrible burnt depression hole.
Yeah. And we've been that for a lot of our people too. It is really cool that both of us have kept touch with some of the people we worked with, especially at that place where we first met. That place, TM.
With that job, I think this might have been like the very beginning, just like this the tinges of the burnout starting is the company got sold. They called, they sent out this, to your point, that unsolicited email of like emergency meeting, all staff must attend. And one of my direct reports messaged me and was like, "Hey, are you going to the meeting at 3 o'clock?" I'm like, "No, it's at 2:30." She's, "No, it's at 3."
Were they that
And that
close? Were they literally 30 minutes apart?
and that's when I realized, oh God, they split us into groups. And basically we went into this meeting. The founder was like, "Hey guys, great news. We sold the company. So think of this as your next adventure. And by the way, we're not keeping any of you. If you have any questions, please ask HR. Goodbye." And I got to be in that group. It was like the rug pulled out under you. I'd never had that before. And it was just a distrust from then on of anything.
Yeah.
And to this day, when I get a random meeting, what is this? Am I in trouble? Am I getting fired? And that's been since 2018. That just anxiety and flight or fight has been on
Yeah.
at an 11 for so long. And that's just also contributing to not being able to handle everything anymore.
Yeah. They did very much foster a culture that I think every workplace needs.
I really do think our friend Kate in HR, I think she had a huge part in that
Oh, yeah.
because there was pay transparency. She was super open about everything, and she made sure that it was HR for the people versus HR for protecting the company.
Mhm.
That was something I don't think I've ever experienced at any other company before.
Because we were happy, but we all
And
also
safe.
worked, but we also all worked our asses
So
off.
hard.
And because we cared about it, and the fact that your company obviously cares about you and is showing it and is not just saying it, they're actually doing the actions.
Yeah.
It makes a world of difference. And I wish companies would understand that. I know it's not all fucking kumbaya or whatever, but the policy should always be we have a no asshole policy. I think I had one company even tell me that they were careful about hiring a lot of people as referrals because they didn't
Yeah.
want people to.
Start their own little asshole club. Even though we don't work together, one of the things I really do appreciate is just having parallel play work sessions where we'll just both get on and do our own work. It's that comfort of having a quote unquote coworker and someone who you feel comfortable with. Just having someone there that you can talk to or just bounce an idea off of has also been a really huge contributor to coming back from just being completely dead inside to being able to get back in the groove and start working again. And it's taken me several rounds of startups to realize that they will replace you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you can dump everything you want into it, but the second it doesn't work for them, it's just, and I know it's a therapeutic term, but it's like you are pouring from an empty cup and you're not ever getting anything back. And so the
Yeah.
disappointment and the grief that when you are gone from a company after you've just poured your whole self into it and done work you're really proud of, that's a whole other part of the burnout is that awful like grief and anger too that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And you just become jaded at the workplace and like you don't trust anyone.
And what it is it's literally just, at least in my experience, trauma bonding.
100%, just 1,000% trauma bonding. And so when someone understands where you're coming from and you can just blap it all out and they get it, you need that.
Yeah. And I feel like it's not even just startups, really. I feel like it's just companies. Also, my favorite thing is so many companies now are like, we've been in business for since 1994. And then they still are calling themselves a startup and they're still acting like a startup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Move on.
That kind of brings us to our point of why we're doing this, because I think we have been so drained and we have trauma bonded with so many coworkers that as we've gotten older, and actually our grandfathers died within like the same 12 months, uh,
Yeah.
who we were super close to, and realizing that like I want to contribute something to this world. I want to do something with my time. I want to do something that matters, and feeling like I'm just on a treadmill every day and not using the parts of my brain that have just atrophied. It's really shaken me up. And it's like, I want to start using my brain for good
Mhm.
and for something that's important. And so
And something
I'll
that,
let you take over.
yeah, I was gonna say like fill your cup. That's something that's always sounded cheesy, but recently, actually in therapy, like my therapist had said that to me. You just need to fill up your cup. You really just, yeah, do things that fill up your cup because you're just empty right now. And so everything else you do, which is just continuing to empty your cup, that's why like you feel this way. And so I really leaned into that. And first of all, we met up this summer and we hadn't seen each other since
5 years.
I even thought it was longer. We talk every day, and a lot of it is like we do get on even video calls with each other a lot. Definitely more now that we're doing the Burnout Collective, but even before. So we do talk a lot. So I think we've done a great job upholding our relationship.
Yeah. And also too, it's being in therapy and not being in therapy is two entirely different things. So when you both are in therapy at the same time, I think it makes it safer to say things that you couldn't necessarily say to other people because it's so vulnerable, or you're feeling a certain kind of way, and
Yeah.
it, you know that you can just tell that person, I just want to lay down and be dead, and know that they know what you're talking about and that you're not crazy. And it's very validating.
And if you can find friends, which obviously Rebecca is one of those friends, but if you can find friends where you can literally text them, I can't be there for you right now because I'm empty and miserable and exhausted and I don't have the energy. And it's so hard to say that because I think we think that can come across as you're not important to me,
Yeah.
which is the complete opposite. Because if I'm comfortable enough to actually say that to you, even if I am comfortable enough to say it to you, it's still hard to say it. And a lot of times I don't say it because I don't know how some people will take it. But I have a good handful of friends that will let me be like that and respect it and understand too because like they go through it. So I think I don't know. I don't know where I was going with this. I think I just wanted to get
I
the
do. That's where the idea of the collective came from, because it is basically a group of people who are basically each other's support systems at this point, and
truth.
we can be our most vulnerable. And it's genuinely, it's, I explained it to Jamie, it's like the artist colony for broken people. It's just people who once had that spark and creativity and are just in that depression hole, but are also still managing to hold each other up. And
Mhm.
so finding our ways out of the hole together. And that's why we called it the Burnout Collective, because all work together, but we're all experiencing that same basic feeling.
And it sounds fucking awesome. So,
Genuinely, it does. But that's what it is. It's
yeah.
a colony of
We're
broken
we're
people.
we're a colony now. The
Yeah.
broke
But
the broken people colony.
and not to be too kumbaya, because but it, the point of it is just like, it's not wallowing. And that's to your point about filling the cup. It's not pouring into other empty cups who can't be reciprocate that. It's pouring into cups and getting that back, and just slowly forming a human chain out of that depression hole little by little, and supporting each other at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's who, those are the people that I found in the past few years. And it's, there's so many other people like that out there, that that's why we're doing this, because there's so much that we can be doing. But one of the things we talked about is like burnout is one of those things that is not ever really said out loud, if just to the general public, because so many people are experiencing it. But with the hustle culture and the startup culture, especially for people who work remotely, if I am not on my fucking A game at all times, I am slacking, and I just have to keep my shit together. And I can't be falling apart because everyone else is keeping their shit together. But actually,
Yeah.
we're all just poorly regulated people scraping through the day, trying to keep our shit together and thinking that everyone else is doing a better job than we are. And so saying it out loud
Hmm.
and acknowledging that it's there, and that it's There's no shame in being there. It's super common. It's okay to be there. And it makes sense that we're there. And the fact that you can't hold your shit together makes total sense and is okay. And it doesn't make you weak to say that. And it's not shameful to say that out loud. It's actually a very common human thing. I think miscarriages is what I said. It's like
Oh yeah.
miscarriages happen to everyone,
Burnout
or
and
almost everyone.
miscarriages.
But like no one talks about it. And so you have one and you're just all alone. But it's so common. It's just there's so much shame around it or
Yeah.
taboo about talking about it. Burnout is seen as like a personal failure when actually it's just a result of the patriarchy and crushing capitalism. Yeah, that sounds about right.
About now, I would like to do like a the more you know. Oh,
Patriarchy and capitalism.
yeah.
Just
Patriarchy,
what's the answer?
capitalism.
Yep. For everything.
We'll get that emote. I did want to point out though, you said especially for remote people, and I think I just wanted to clarify what I think you meant, which is just that I think when you work for people remotely, some of them are very on edge about are you even working? Are you doing your jobs? So I wanted to clarify that like Rebecca
Yeah.
wasn't saying because people I think people who have to work like in office and physically go to work, I think it's worse for them too because we can at least turn off our cameras or not be in a meeting. But when you're face to face with people, then you just have to keep it on all day. And
100. Yeah.
that's even harder. I really have come to realize any employer is very willing to exploit me, and it's my job to hold the boundary of refusing to be complicit in my own exploitation.
I think that should go on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Refusing to be complicit in my own exploitation.
Yes. We'll get that for
We're
your
just gonna end emails at work that way now. So instead of
comma instead of
best.
best. Yeah. Refusing to be complicit in my own exploitation.
But that's so hard too,
TBD.
like the boundaries thing, setting work boundaries and learning how to set work boundaries, and that you're probably not going to get fired if you do set work boundaries,
Yeah.
and that it's okay to. That's another thing that I've had a really hard time learning.
Yeah.
You know, like my boss put a meeting on my calendar. I took Friday off and I was like, hey, I'm off, but I can come in and just do a half day. Instead of, and he was so nice. He was like, oh no, we can meet now. But instead of just being like, hey, I'm off, my default is I can come, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I can, and that's bad. That's not, I
Yeah.
wouldn't expect that of the people who I manage. So
That's
why am I the
true.
one doing it?
I think I need to practice what I preach because I know with my team especially like I'll say, "Hey, like you guys worked so hard this week. Let's take an early day. Take off an hour or two early." But then usually I stay. Not always, but like I usually have stuff to do, so I'll stay. And also I'll yell at my team if they're on, honestly, even past 5:30. I'll be like, "Why are you still
Mhm.
here?" And it's just to get the point across that like you should end when you need to end. Don't feel like you because we've all worked jobs where we felt like we had to be in our seat or like
Mhm.
online on Slack, actively working for 8 hours. And I just think it's not like that. And I think, I guess, with remote culture, we have a little more of a benefit because we can have a little bit more of a life because, like, we're at home. Not a life, I guess, but I mean, be able to do things.
Right.
Like, I can go lie down in bed for 5 minutes and cuddle with my cat
Yeah.
if I need a little pick me up. Just like,
I can have IBS in the comfort of my own home.
yes.
Did I tell you? I think this is
Yes.
a job before we met. The job I had before that. I had my IBS was so bad from the amount of stress I had. I had to get a note from my gastroenterologist being like, she needs to go home sometimes. And basically
Would you go back?
it was a poop permission. Oh yeah. It was a poop permission slip where it was like she can go home and shit her guts out and you have to let her
Poop
because
permission slip. Sorry.
that was fucking humiliating. But I was just so sick all the time and so stressed out that I just needed to not be. And that's one of the reasons why I work
Yeah.
remote is because the stress level, or if it is a bad day and I am sick, I don't have to worry about my coworkers being like, what is
Is she,
she doing in
yeah.
there?
What is she
So
doing in
chronic, yes. So chronic illness too. That's the other
there?
working remotely with chronic illness, but also having to be on
Mhm.
exacerbates that. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing that I've noticed has been really bad. Like, if you see me do this, it's because like all my muscles are bunched up and it's just like continuous pain. And I need to start learning how to away. And,
Slouch less. I'm just kidding.
and I think that's the thesis. Like, part of this is learning how to do something for ourselves, walk away, reclaim some of that brain power for ourselves and things we actually love to do. Alyssa was one of the reasons why we started, by the way. Alyssa, I've been like, you started posting your art, like started
Yeah.
drawing and painting and just posting your art and just watching you explore and do more and be more and more creative and just that was incredibly motivating.
Yeah. I remember like it was when Alyssa first got laid off. She was just going to take some time and she started doing art. And then I started seeing the stuff she did. And I was like, I'm sorry, are you an artist? Did you just start this? And you're like, oh, wow, it happened to be. And she's, oh, I'd always like doodle, whatever. And I'm like, okay, so you've always been an artist and you've been
Hmm.
hiding it. And it wasn't like she was hiding it, obviously, but it was that she wasn't having time for it because she was trying to live and pay to have a place to live and food and take care of her kids. And I was just like blown away. I was like, oh shit. And like, yeah, it was a long abandoned ADHD hobby that I dusted off. I know you have those hidden talents too. Yeah. We're still trying to find some. And I think like going through this process, we have found some stuff. I love designing crazy things in Canva and just like relearning how to stream and do it a little bit differently. And even though, when did I stop streaming? 3 years ago ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just in that 3 years, I forgot everything about setting this all up.
Learning to write copy again for yourself. That's not some bullshit
Yeah,
marketing, but is like just talking about what you're
genuine.
actually passionate about.
Genuine. That's why I updated my personal site after we made the Burnout Collective
Yeah.
website because we literally just would sit on calls and painstakingly go over like every sentence and every section. And we'd say something and we'd be like, we're saying that because that's what we would say if we are working for the man, but we're
Mhm.
working for us. We want to be like genuine and real. And like, how would we say this? And what is this really about? And what do we want people to know? And we want you to know that you're not alone. Everybody's burnt out, but that doesn't discount you being burnt out. It doesn't matter if somebody just got laid off and their grandpa died and their mother has cancer. You can't say, like, oh, but they're doing this and they're still coming to
Mhm.
work and giving their 100% and blah, blah, blah. We shouldn't be celebrating that, first of all.
No, it's when that perfect attendance thing in elementary school, that's when it starts, is they applaud you for never missing a
Yeah.
day. That's where it starts.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
bad. That's a bad way to be.
It is. Because you feel like, and it was a problem. I was telling you recently how that was an issue at a place where I had to work in office,
Mhm.
where we had such a shitty time off policy. And I think this is just in content. Maybe it's a lot of other places too, but like definitely in content. It's so hard to, oh, teaching too. I'm thinking of
Oh,
Erica. That is definitely more difficult. But just like I was going to say in content, it's so hard to take a day off or to take a vacation
yeah.
because this is shit that's like going out every day and every day there's more and you have to like keep on top of it. So even if I am taking off, like I have unlimited time off now, but even if I am going to take a week off to go see Rebecca, I have to work my butt off and work 10 to 12-hour days the week
Yeah.
before to make sure that I'm getting everything done and I'm like getting shit organized for my direct reports because that's really all I care about is that like they're
Yeah.
set and they don't feel lost or they don't know who to go to if they have an issue. And then when you come back, the huge pile, even though you did all this work before, is there. And it's
Yes.
much worse for teachers. I literally, God bless teachers. That is I really feel like that's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah. Now I feel guilty for bitching about anything because, but also I'm not a teacher, so
Yeah.
I don't have to catch anyone's vomit in my hands.
My whole apartment just is in like utter disarray all the time, and I feel like I can't catch up. I've been telling my therapist and Rebecca and probably a few other friends for like almost the last year that I just need to take 2 months off work, which is not really possible, but I want to take 2 months off work and then catch up on all my stuff that's not work. Because at the end of the day, I can still do it, but I'm so tired and my brain is so spent that I just want to stop.
Here's the thing I just thought of. If you were pregnant, you absolutely could take.
Yes.
That's the only reason is
I'm
if you're pregnant. If you're
gonna get
not,
pregnant.
then you don't but you don't get that. You don't get that. Even if it's unpaid 3 months, like you just don't get that time to recover,
Yeah.
recovering physically from motherhood. Or
Yeah.
this is nothing new, but mental health is not seen as important as physical health. And so
Yeah.
why would you get time to recover?
I think I've had major depression house since, honestly, I was telling Rebecca this too lately. When I was in my room getting dressed, I threw something on my dresser or threw something on the pile on my dresser that my dresser is underneath. And laying on top of my dresser, so dusty, but there is the bulletin for my grandfather's funeral and a dried flower that I brought home from his funeral. And it's like so emotional and so personal. It's not like I have depression and I'm just messy. I look at that and I can see
Hmm.
I came home from that and I put that on my dresser to do something with. And then I just jumped right back into work. And I think I had a weekend off. I think I had the Friday off and jumped back into work and then was never able to do anything with it. And then I see that, and it's first of all a reminder that like your grandpa died. And second, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's such a symbol of the emotional toll.
Yeah. You just became your own metaphor. Like it's a physical pile on that's you're just mentally piling on things and you're not getting a chance to sort through it and dig down. It just starts
Yeah.
here and just add to it.
Yeah. And I know I was like grieving. I think I was grieving pretty hard, but I still thought that I was like moving through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the heaviness slash depression is a lot of emotions that get backed up because we don't have time to slow down and actually process and feel. Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. I think that's what I was trying to say too, is I thought I was handling it. I mean, it still was shitty grieving. It was shitty that my grandfather died, but in my mind, I was like, this is grieving and I'm grieving and I'm like going through the motions and it's not gonna go away, but it's just gonna get a lot better.
Mhm.
And I think maybe I wasn't. And it was coming out as I don't have the energy to do these other things.
I'm gonna science here for a minute and probably be totally wrong, but if I remember correctly, dopamine is the chemical which actually gives your body your muscles can work, but if you don't have enough dopamine, it's so difficult to actually physically move your body.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so when you have a lack of that, depression with burnout, you physically can't. You just
You're
physically
fucked.
cannot you're fucked.
Yeah.
But you're like, it must because I'm lady. It's no, you're not lazy. Your body literally
You said because I'm a
cannot.
lady.
I think I said lady too. Lazy.
But also,
But you're not lazy. Your brain literally does not have the chemical that you need to do the thing. But you internalize it. And it's just, again, to your metaphor, just a piling on of every bullshit thing that's happened and not
yeah.
getting a chance to sort through it.
Yeah. Oh, man. See, yeah, and it's everything. Like, this kind of started because we were burnt out on work, but also a lot of just like personal stuff. I would say mostly work and mental health was our main burnout, but then there was also so much.
Late diagnosis ADHD
When were
slash
you
autism.
diagnosed?
2022.
Oh, oh, I
Yeah.
thought you were.
So 3 years ago, 2021. Wow.
Oh.
So that was because we were trying to figure out what was going on with my kid, and I was just looking, I was like, oh, there are so many things. Okay, this is me. So I went to a psychiatrist and I was like, I think I'm not just depressed, I think it's actually this. And I really, and just A, having that confirmed that yes, it is, but B, like knowing that, okay, my brain is not totally broken. It's just A, it's depressed, but also I'm just wired differently. That was hugely helpful in just starting to climb out of the hole and knowing that this is actually something I physically can't control.
I think I was diagnosed in 22. I thought you had been diagnosed for like 3 or 5 years already for some reason.
No.
But autism was even more recent than that.
Yeah. Well, to the burnout thing, when you are high masking with the pandemic, where I have lost all ability to do that. And so my defenses are down and everything that I'd built into place to work every day just basically went to shit with the pandemic. And so those safety rails are no longer in place. And I've just lost all ability to get through the day masked. It's
Unscathed.
yes, I'm exhausted now. I'm just constantly exhausted because I just lost that skill set. Also, fun fact, perimenopause, that's when things start to get worse. And 100% that has started to happen.
That's like another thing I think that honestly, I never hear women talk about menopause like at all.
Ooh.
All I know, well, let's say all I knew about menopause until I actually pursued some information was what they show on like TV and movies. Oh, bad hot flashes and like you're just a bitch
Yes.
all the time. And that's not it. And I think like the majority of it isn't even that.
Not let alone perimenopause. So the perimenopause is A, I didn't know that. And B, the generations before us just had hysterectomies like before they went into menopause.
Hmm.
So there's no like, how old were you when menopause started? And so not knowing that, and then on top of everything else, feeling crazy because you can't remember anything, you feel like you're going to murder everyone, and you don't know what it is. That's the other thing that has just added to this burnout layer of
Hmm.
I can't do this anymore, and my brain feels like it's going rotten.
Yeah. And that kind of just circles back to like the fill your cup up thing.
Yep.
Rebecca and I had been talking about a business idea of ours for a very long time, and we never did anything about it. We would just always talk about it, and we'd be like, "Oh, that would be good for this. Yeah, let's do this." And it was completely different from the Burnout Collective. I almost want to say not completely different, but I think the only reason it's not completely different is because of us, because it's like
Yeah.
our personality and I don't know, our championing of people who are burnt out, a community of people who like we want everybody to feel safe and feel like it's a safe place to say things like I don't know how to tell my boss no and to discuss that with each other.
We just unionized mental health, I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, I think basically we did. But this came out of nowhere. This is when I went to visit you. I got to go on family vacation with Rebecca and her family, which was, I don't think I've been on family vacation with a friend since I was like 12 or 13. So we just started talking about our business and we absolved that when we got back, we would just take, even if it was a small step, we would take a small step to just do it, just do the thing, whatever that was. And the small step was we started meeting right when we got back, we started meeting every Saturday
Mhm.
in the afternoon. And we would just get on for 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours, and talk about ideas, brainstorm, and design things. And we did that very little for our original idea until as we were talking, we realized maybe we just need a place for people like us, which is everybody, I really think. People who are burnt, like the burnouts, the people who are burnt out. And that's it. And here we
Yeah.
are today. And so it wasn't even the original idea that we had meant to go forward with. And then when we decided on this, we didn't even decide on a podcast yet. That happened later too. And then we were like, I think it makes more sense for us to focus on the podcast first and then just work on the other stuff as we're doing that. So that's what we're doing.
And I think we're going to be basically talking through burnout contributions, but also as we go through this, I mean, we're both currently in therapy. We both are medicated. It's
Sometimes.
talking about what's inspiring us, what we're doing to reclaim our brain's time and our brain's efforts and our brain's energy. Even if it's just something small, like I hung up art today, or
Hmm.
I I ordered some new embroidery stuff for a project. Just little stuff.
I bought some fruit from the grocery store.
Yeah, just like little things that are starting to spark that creativity again. Because again, we know so many people who are in these spaces where that spark of creativity that they don't have or
Yeah.
that they have is not allowed to come out. And so it atrophies after a while. I haven't written for myself in
Yeah.
literally years.
It's like what Adrian was saying. Same. I think that's to me, it's like the editor problem. I feel like all editors are always like, I don't get to write anymore. I do think that
Yeah.
some are like, oh, thank God. I'm glad I'm not a full-time writer because that is not what I want to do.
You don't get to tell people they're wrong. That is my favorite part.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's why we're editors. You get to tell them
But
they're
yeah,
wrong and then correct them and tell them
yes.
you're right, which is, yeah, we're not assholes. We're good people. We're just good editors. I'm the type of person who, like, I do look for opportunities where I would like to write something for work, but I work in finance, so that's very hard to want to write something for work some of the time. Something would come up and I'd be like, oh, I could do that. I'll do that one because I feel like writing something that'll be fun. And I always fall into issues with it because it's a completely different skill, not completely different from editing, but it's like a different headspace. It's a different, it feels like such a different part of my brain writing an article versus like somebody writing it and you being like, okay, here's the big picture. Now
Hmm.
let's make it all work perfectly together. So I would get there and it was just like, I would just be frozen. Or I'd write something and I'll be like, oh, that sounds so dumb. Do you not know how to
The
write anymore?
freeze.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then also, I'm always in so many meetings that like I was struggling to have time to write this thing that I told everybody I was going to write. And then it gets to the point where I'm kicking myself because I should have assigned this to somebody else. Like I should have delegated, but I took this on. And
I can do everything. I can do it all.
yeah, yeah,
Delegating is really hard too, because again, it's that previous mindset of I got to do everything, I got to do it all. And if I don't, I have failed. But actually, should be delegating.
yeah.
I'm really working on that.
That's always something many managers have told me to work on. So I still have not perfected it. It's also because in my mind, I see how hard, for example, my team's working, especially. I see every day how hard they're working. I see what they do. And I see that they're like really putting in the work and the effort and doing a great job. So then I do sometimes feel guilty if I'm piling more on
Yeah.
them. But yeah, I just feel that so much.
And the other thing I do want to mention is that, like, with this community that we're forming, we've created a Discord and we do want to start bringing people together, and not just us, but like everyone else having conversations and everyone else like helping to inspire each other and again get that spark back and that love for doing something that you want to do
Yeah.
that's not making someone else money, but that it's pouring back into you. And again, I keep saying reclaiming, but it's reclaiming your brain's energy for yourself and getting yourself that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
It's not just right.
No, no, go ahead. Please continue.
No, I mean, it's not just going to be us talking. Like, we've been looking at the comments, there's a conversation. We want to know what you've been up to. One of the things I think we're going to have guests, and I do think
Mhm.
we're going to start trying to feature projects from people that we know and just to help get their work out there. And it's just encouraging people to make things or do things that simply just bring them joy and replenish that energy that they keep giving.
I got to the point too where now it's like a joke with Rebecca. We'll like have sessions where we're working on stuff, and we don't work on stuff just on Saturdays anymore. We'll like end one of those midweek sessions, and Rebecca will be like, okay, so we'll work on this tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow. I was like, yep. And then she'll say, but at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep, you're probably going to be a little bit working on it, right? And I'm like, maybe. But like it came to the point where I think Rebecca checked in with me and was like, I don't want you to get burnt out working on the Burnout Collective. And I was like, no, I feel like a new person because it has really energized me.
Mhm.
And especially as two people with ADHD, we know, and Alyssa was talking about this, that it's just so easy.
Oh, yeah. It's so easy to just like completely rabbit hole and be like, you know what,
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done, and just drop it. I have a
Yeah.
whole fucking closet full of,
Same. Same.
yeah, you're not
Yeah.
like, because with all the stuff you just are like, I'll get it and then drop it. But this, it's, oh, I'm getting something from it. I'm not like going in information rabbit hole. I didn't
Yeah.
just spend $200 on watercolors and then just lose that dopamine hit. Like,
Alyssa. Give them to Alyssa.
this is just that constant dopamine refresh, and it kept going and it kept like making more. And it's just so different from all the other stuff I've tried and dropped. So the
Yeah.
fact that we stuck with it,
Yeah. And we just have been like, is that embroidery back there, by the way?
it is.
I don't think everyone else can see it, but I can see it. Okay. What is that little stand?
It is a stand for my old ass where I don't have to like crouch down with my neck. I can just have it like in my lap. And so
Hmm. Wow, we're really old ladies. We're
we
truly.
are so old, but it's in hot pink. So,
Nobody else can see it. Sorry.
oh, okay.
So I'll stop talking about the thing that nobody else can
The
see.
riveting conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just so energized by it and it made me feel so good. I haven't used this part of my brain in so long.
So remember how you said there would be a feeling?
Are you having a feeling?
I think I'm having a feeling.
Should we talk about the feeling we're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
So yesterday when we were just tweaking stuff for the stream and talking, Rebecca brought up a good point and she said, "But how will we know when it's time to end the podcast?" And I was like, "That is a good question." And I said to her, "I think it's just going to be a feeling. I think we're just going to know."
So I think that's going to be it for us for today. I really appreciate everyone who has come and been part of the conversation for the next week. I really hope that you guys take a look at our Discord, start some conversations, and we look forward to hearing next week what you're working on and what you did that kind of was for your own creativity.
Ooh, thanks for being here, guys.
We will see you next week.
We'll see you next week. The Burnout Collective is hosted by me, Jamie Young.
And me, Rebecca McCracken. You can find all our episodes plus show notes at burnoutcollective.com.
Follow the Discord link on our website to join the Burnout community. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram.
If you're interested in being a guest on a future episode or have questions or feedback, you can email us at podcast@burnoutcollective.com.